Hello and welcome to my video of 9 levels from voting. These are not my top 9, these are 9 that I could actually finish. However, I did pick 9 that I really liked. This first level as 2 paths become 1, despite the ridiculous reference to the Spice Girls, I'm gonna let that pass. This is a really good level. I like the, sort of anti-symmetry. It's relatively easy. Doesn't matter which way you start, it works out the same. The balance is good, and it's fun. The only thing is, I would have liked a little more challenge right at the end there, where you go by the second set of cloners. Anyway, that's my first one. The second one is why I had to include one of my own, and this is one I picked. Doesn't seem like anybody has warehouse levels anymore, so I picked Dave's Warehouse. Dave's Warehouse is a pretty simple warehouse. Just there's some weird things in it. I liked having blue walls, a little bit of ice, and these weird double thin walls. And you who have used thin walls, lock slapping, you know why they're there. So you can't cheat. This one's in Zygote number 37. The first level that we went by already, Acropolis, that was in 2 paths become 1 was in Acropolis. That was level 1 of Acropolis. So it was one of the first levels that tried out if you did them in alphabetical order, which they didn't come out that way, but some people are like that. So anyway, this level is fairly straightforward, a lot of fun to play, and it's not that tedious. You know how Warehouse 2 was. Nothing like that should ever happen again. The only trick here really is to do things in the right order, like right there. Don't go the wrong way, and also to make sure that you put this particular block in the right place. You don't want to go all the way in, you'll never get the last 2 blocks in. So that's the trick right there. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. You push the blocks around, and you'll notice there are 3 chips left. Now, those aren't too hard to get when you go get the other blocks, which are up here by the ice. They'll just appear. They're underneath these blocks. So it's not that hard a level. It's kind of fun. And it's the only level of mine that I included in this list just because it's a good level. Really, it's not all that pretty, but for a warehouse level, it's not all that tedious. I thought that the inclusion of the blue walls made it a little less boring than just, the gray and brown. Number 3 on my list, this is Fossilized Snow, Dandelion number 42. This is a great simple level. So it's not that complicated. You get the idea of what it is right away. You bounce around. It's kind of fun. It's got toggle walls. And I like the fact that you do all this stuff just to get the chips, and then once you have the chips, then there's a little bit more work to do. And that's clever. You're like on half the level to start with, and then once that's done, then you have a whole different half of the level you can go in. So once you have all the chips, which I do here, I don't know what I'm doing, bouncing around like this. I just walked by the socket a little bit ago, so this was just wasted time. So you can see how I don't optimize. Anyway, right there, you now are in the part where you can bounce around with the toggle, and then there's a third piece after you get through these toggles. You get to the green key in just a minute when I figure out that I can't sit there. That doesn't work. Here we go. Yeah, there you go. There's the other button I need. Now, saw the exit, so how do I get there? It's clearly not going to get that, that's why I need that key right there. So go down here, I get the key, I gotta bounce back again, but I need to get over where the key is useful, which is right there, so another toggle. Unfortunately that one's open, so then you go over here, and now a little thin wall maze, which is a nice touch to get yourself to where you need to be to get the ice skates. because the ice skates are the only way to get out of this level, which is kind of an obvious thing, but I don't mind it. It makes it so there's almost like 4 pieces to this level. It's nice like that swapper, but kind of. Now this is one of my absolute favorites. I always wanted to do a level like this. This is Gravity Well, which is from Fusion number 44. And I was never able to make this work in any serious matter. This is so incredibly clever. I thought it was a lot harder than it was because of this right here, but then it turns out you go down here and you end up here, and then suddenly, oh, I have those fat gravity boots. I can get around through this thing. Suction boots if you prefer. But since it's called Gravity Well. So now you got to figure out, well, what do I want to do with this block? It doesn't really matter. You need to put it somewhere so you can get going. So I'm going to push it one way or the other, fill the water, and move on to the next spot. Cleverly enough, I'm going to lose my boots here. Right there. Hit it under the block. So that was good job there as well. Now, this one I had to think about back and forth. Okay, so that's good. So if you push the block around here, right, now it gets interesting. How do you do this? Well, how do I get the block over there? This took me a little while to figure out, as you'll see. I bounced around and around, but I eventually figured out, oh, I need to go up and come back. This can be done if you are patient. Clearly, I'm not patient enough, so I ended up doing this a couple times. And by the way, no, I wish I hadn't done that. Now, this really slowed me down when I did this, because now I have to figure out how to get the block back where it just was. Which I did figure out fairly quickly. Go up, Dave, go up. Come on, you can do it. And you can see I was thinking really hard. I prefer to do these playbacks because that just means that I don't have to try to talk and use my fingers at the same time. It's hard enough talking and standing up at the same time. I did want to mention that these are not necessarily my top 9 levels. These are just levels that I found really fun. Yeah, there's the way I did it. So, and it also required that I be able to complete them so I could do this sort of walkthrough thing with you. The ones that I really like that I could not, oh, I hate doing stuff like this. I'll go around here a couple times. The ones that I could not finish, didn't get in even though I really liked them. So there were a lot. There's one, something like Spooky Sokoban, I think it's called, where you have teeth as walls. It's an excellent level. I really like that level, but I kept dying because guess what? It's tricky. It's hard to remember not to run into those walls, and you know, I did a level with a wall of teeth, but nothing like that. It's really not a good way to do something. You could use, I suppose, any monster because it's all on gravel, but making it teeth makes it a little more nerve-wracking. I think that's just the human nature of me, at least, seeing the teeth snapping at you, especially in Lynx. That's one of the things I really like about Lynx, the fact that you got these animated force floors in this one that the teeth snap at you and look like chattering teeth, not like some weird frog thing. I also thought the frog thing was, well, kind of spooky, but kind of weird. Like, why is there a frog? Now that once I figured out that, oh, the original was the chattering teeth, that made more sense to me. It's also funnier. Okay, now this level seems like a simple little blue wall level, right? But no, it's got this nice little break the path thing here where you have to actually go outside of a box. You don't realize it right away if you're not paying attention. This, by the way, is called In the Moonlight. It is in Yodel number 12, and it's, you know, it's just, it's probably an optimizer's dream because, you know, you gotta have a path laid out, and then you can see some of the chips are actually outside of boxes. The only thing that would make that a little better is if you couldn't actually see them. If you got to the end of the blue ball part and you said, hey, I don't have enough chips, where do I go? That would be even more fun. But I really like this level. I will say, on all of the levels I've included in this video, I voted either 4 or 5 for fun. And the difficulty ranged from 1 to 4, mostly 3s. I couldn't find a difficulty 5 fun 5 level that I could finish easily, on top of which I don't even know if I have one. I looked through my list on my Google sheet and I couldn't actually find one that had 2 5s. I'm not sure there's a super difficult level that I really like all that much. I'm not really, we don't need too many more of these, Old Frog or suspended animation levels, although I love that level, as you all know. What really makes it fun is that you feel like you can actually accomplish it. So I saw in somebody else's podcast that there were some really difficult levels that took hours to figure out. I can see the value of that as maybe one of the late or bonus levels, but for me the fun is before you get to 131. The other levels are just, I gotta finish this stupid level. So anyway, this is the end of that level. Pretty straightforward once you figure out how to do it. And now comes one of my very favorites of all time, moving and unmoving. The concept here is just fantastic. I mean, it never even occurred to me to do something like this with all the levels, with moving. We've seen this moving tanks thing a lot, but this moving tank thing with the toggle doors and the pink balls, that's really cool. And it makes me wonder why I didn't think of it. But anyway, the only thing I don't like is, of course, that it takes many times to do that turning on, turning off thing. I got lucky there, but you probably see even later in this playback that I have some trouble getting that timing right. And there are many levels, even in the official sets, that have this same mechanism, so it's not like it's weird or anything. It's just that it's not like playing tanks a lot again, but it does seem to me like there ought to be an easier way. There isn't an easier way. It's just the way the mechanism works. And if I remember right, there may even be a CC1 level that requires that sort of mechanism, or something similar. Oh, I have to turn them back on again. This on off. It's about enough to almost be annoying, but still be enjoyable. Once you have the green key, of course, the other thing I noticed about this is there are these little pockets that remind me of a terrible level I made a long time ago when I was making levels called Octopus. Horrible level, but it had 8 little legs, so some of them stuck out at different angles, and that's kind of what that looks like, maybe a little foot. There's a couple like that. And by the way, you get extra brownie points for using pink balls. It's the essence of challenge to have pink balls in your level. So one little bug, that's nice. Looks like I have about 14 chips left, so I'll probably have to stop these again. Yeah, well, see, this is what I'm talking about. Forever and ever and ever and ever. By the way, I also didn't include Cypress, not because I couldn't finish it, but because I think it gets lots of love anyway. It's a good level. I thought it belonged in cclp4, but it clearly was not, so and I didn't include Till Tuesday, which I happen to like a lot, but that's another one of my levels, and nothing really outstanding about it. It's just a cool little grid of stuff to do. I wonder sometimes if when we start moving into more CC2 type stuff, if we'll lose some of the cleverness. Because every time we do this level set thing, I think, well, I can't think of anything else new to do. I never would have thought of suspended animation or Old Frog or anything, but there always seems to be something that we haven't explored yet. So what I'm hoping is that as we become more mature with CC2, we start to understand the weird mechanics like, oh yeah, that thing can go through a green wall, you just have to let it. That it will become even more interesting. I've heard some rumblings about somebody trying to build a real editor. That would be nice because editors, well, it's an editor, but it simply is not the kind of thing that makes it possible to do what we need to do. There are 3 or 4 editors for CC1 that we use these to make these levels, and the editor that comes with CC2 is just not intuitive or easy to use. It's too small. You can't zoom in without missing something. Alright, so I included this level, Sawdust Fields, mainly because we needed to have a dirt level. We just don't. No one's been talking about dirt levels. And this one in particular is pretty clever. That green key, so tempting. I picked it up the first time. You don't need the green key. There's an extra chip. And the green key, the green lock, hides that extra chip. But you don't need it. It's right there. Don't go in there. Because there's a little trap at the end, and if you have a green key, you'll fall in the trap. So here's the other thing. That red ball, that ball on the red key, you can't get the key with the ball the way it is. I tried, of course. You don't actually want to do that. You want to wait. There's a block near the exit. You have to bring that block through the maze, which makes this interesting. It's kind of like the old the original Tron movie, where you have to take them back through the maze. That's kind of what we're doing here. So that's really cool, because that means that this isn't just a item swapper. This is more of a, oh yeah, it's also a Sokoban of 1 block. So it becomes much more interesting. And now, how to use the keys. The hint said something about be careful with the from any keys. And that's right. You don't have any extra keys. You can't. So it also fools you into grabbing the green key. Oh, I need keys. You don't want the green key. What you do want is the yellow key to use right there to get these last 2 chips. And then you'll need the blue key to move the block. So what it is that you got through everywhere, but the block actually can't fit through this space right there. So you have to go ahead and go down from the top, which means you need your blue key right there. So you get the block, or you can't get it. Yeah, that was smart. You have to clear the way first. Then you get the block and you start moving around. And it's going to have to go straight down here, which I figured out by thinking for a second. You go right down here, and then you'll be able to move it around. And I did a pretty good job of not getting stuck, although I did play this about 3 or 4 times before I figured out that I needed the block. Then, once I had the block, I managed to get through this the first time. It just was not not complicated. You go right by that same place where you started, right? And I did sort of try to plan it out a piece at a time. It's not so hard that you have to plan out the whole thing all at once. You can sort of get through a couple rooms and sit and think. The rooms are big enough. I appreciate that. I don't like super tight Sokobans. They make me crazy. There were a couple levels that I looked at and I was going to conclude in this video, and I realized, oh, the Sokobans are so incredibly difficult. I will never get these finished in time. So I didn't even try. There was, can't remember the name of the level. There's one that was actually in the podcast that was just out recently, about the top 10 levels of JB and Jeffrey and, sorry, the other guy, Josh, wanted to see, and I believe that level was in there, but it was, and I gave it a 5 in voting, I think. I mean, I gave it a good 4 or 5, something like that, but the problem was that it's just so difficult. It'll take me months to be able to complete those Sokoban unless I cheat, unless I watch somebody else's video. And then it'll still take me a long time because I'll have to start and stop the video. You know how that goes. Those of you who finished the last level of CC2 and got the $3 million bonus, 3 million point bonus, that is. There, that's how you get the red key. Anyway, those are a few levels. I mean, I had to do that with Old Frog. I had to use somebody else's video to figure it out. But then I made my own video, and I think people could figure it out from there. Okay, so this is the integral difference. This is gazebo number 30. And it's just a kind of a nice, I got a few different things level, and it also is kind of nice because you can always go back and fix what you messed up. Now I like that there's walkers, although you don't actually have to mess with the walkers, but I like to see walkers appear once in a while. It's just nice to see them. They're kind of my favorite monster from CC1, and they do not get much due. I didn't include any walker levels because there just aren't very many good ones. There's a, you know, everybody thinks of spirals and how impossible that was unless you did it in links. But there are a few. I tried to make some, but mine aren't very good. I've seen other walker levels that are okay, but it's so challenging to make a level that uses walkers in a way that's really fun and not frustrating. Even more so than blobs, I think, because blobs, you know, there's kind of blobs. I don't have any affinity for them. I could pretty much live without blobs. You know, yes, you know, I still got, 59 chips left. I have a feeling I've gotten everything in here, but like I said, there has some replay value here. You can come back. So even though I'm going to leave now and go get these chips, because I can't easily see which ones I'm missing. I know I'm missing at least one chip in that force floor area, but I don't know how many I'm missing because I would go get them then. So instead, I'm going to go get everything else. As long as I don't hit on that toggle, that wall there, the pop-up wall, I'll be alright. I'm going to come back here, look around some more. I still have 27 left, so there's another section I haven't been to that has a lot more chips in it because I can't get all those chips. So if I go up here, aha, so I have this little skating rink thing. This is, you know, it's your basic bounce around. We've seen this in a million levels, but it's well done. It's nothing exciting. You can see everything's going on. It's not frustrating like Double Maze or something. And now I'm down to 3. So my guess is 3 is how many I missed in that other room with the force floors. So I'm going to get back there sometime, eventually, once I figure out how to get there. Oh, I think I see now. Now if I could just tell my other self to actually go there. No, there you go. There, back here. Here we go. I can go, well, no, go back. There you go. Well, there's another way, but apparently I forgot the other way. So I'll go this way instead. There you go. Down. There you go. You can go through this. That was a waste of time. I should have just gone the other way, but that's alright. Plus I couldn't. I think I could, though. Anyway, fire or water doesn't matter. There's clearly 3 more. There's 1. There's 2. That was easy. Where's the third one? There it is right there. Alright, I got them all. Now I just need to get over to the socket and get the, and now I can get all the chips, but I don't need them anymore. I just need to get out of here. So we'll get out of here and go on to the next level. This level was really cool. I thought it'd be a stupid on the rocks kind of thing, but not really. It's something where you can't really see what's going on, but once you get the idea, hey, something hidden's going on, then you can't push a block. Some block's going to show up for you, as long as you don't screw up too badly. Like, I don't know why that block over on the right appeared so early, but that's where you got to go, so it's kind of a clue. I also really like the outside here that's with all these gliders that aren't actually doing anything. They, I suppose if we made it CC2, they could be floating and still have those thin walls, but you got double thin walls, which is, I think this is the only other place I've seen double thin walls besides in Dave's warehouse. It's a cool little aesthetic. And by the way, in case you're wondering, that's the first vowel sound in aesthetic should rhyme with Caesar, so it should really probably be aesthetic, but we all say aesthetic because we're kind of lame. Anyway, it's spelled the same way for a reason. That's right. Okay. And see, I'm almost at the exit. This is a simple level. You just wait for it, but I like this a lot. It's fun and good looking. And that is the end of my set. Feel free to compliment or criticize or whatever you want to do. That's all good with me.